Ephesians 4:11 says that he gave the apostles, the prophets, the evangelists, the shepherds, and the teachers for the equipping of the saints for the work of the ministry. For too long in the Western church, this model has been flipped. Our model in the West has been we hire professionals to do the work of the ministry. And so if you think from left to right, you have the congregation hires the pastor, and then there's the world. We need to flip that model completely around. As Ephesians 4:11 says, he gave all of those offices to lead the saints, which is the congregation, in the ministry, which is reaching out to the world and to each other. And so this multiplies the leadership that God has given to us. And honestly, in today's world, in post-Christian Western society, in the church in the modern age, in our postmodern age, post-everything age, Christianity has to go back to its roots, where it's no longer resting on a few professionals to advance the kingdom, but every believer is empowered wherever they are to advance God's kingdom, whether it's at home, at work, or at play. And so if you're thinking about joining a Calypso team, this is an essential element that you need to understand, is that this is a process wherein you are equipped and empowered exactly where you are to do the work of the ministry. There are three categories that we really want to focus on during Calypso training. The first of these is the idea of vocational calling. Vocational calling is not something we talk about very much in today's world. In fact, people tend to think if I'm going to serve God, I need to go on a trip overseas, or I need to go into the ministry, or I need to get a seminary degree. These are ways to serve God for sure, but these aren't the only ways. These aren't the primary ways. And for most of us, these aren't the ways that God is going to lead us. Vocational purpose goes back to that idea that God owns everything. Psalms 24:1 says, "The earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof." God looks over this world, and with jealousy, he looks on every square inch, and he says, "It's mine." And so every job that we can do that is good and honorable in some way fits into God's kingdom. When we pray, as we're commanded to pray by Jesus, "Give us this day our daily bread," we're asking for a lot of people in a long chain, starting with farmers and people who make farming equipment, and truckers, and people who build stores, and people who work in the stores, and people who bag groceries. All of those steps along the way are ordained by God as good in and of themselves, not good as a means to an end, the end being providing opportunity for evangelism or providing money for the church. They're good all by themselves. God's original command to Adam and Eve was to fill the earth and to subdue it, to have dominion over it. And so all of the various trades and professions and skills that we develop over the course of our life, these are employed in God's service. Obviously, there are many professions in today's world which are not in any way honorable. So there's no Christian equivalent of the pornography industry. This is something that God simply stands against. Whatever industry you're in, assuming you're not in one of those industries, is in some way part of God's kingdom work. You can redeem your job through the idea of vocational calling. It's something where you can see this as an act of worship. The second category is what I call kingdom living or ethical living. And this is simply the notion that there's a lot of things that happen in business today that, particularly in a city like Houston, where there are a lot of Christians in every single company, that if we knew each other and if we banded together, we would be able to stand up with one voice and speak to certain issues and reshape the systems that are in our city. Many people will show up at church on Sunday and put their Christian hat on, and then on Monday they take that off and they go and they live however they need to. And we make fun of certain professions for doing this, maybe in more obvious ways than other professions, but there's probably ways in which each of us are tempted every day to not make wise Christian choices. So one of the ideas of Calypso teams is that we are connecting with other Christians in our workplace that are already there. Maybe they're not members of our church, and that's okay. They can still be part of helping to hold us accountable and helping to strive for justice and for Christian living in our workplace. The third focus of Calypso teams is evangelism. We don't simply want to go to work and do our jobs, even though there is value in that. There's also another king and another kingdom to whom we are beholden, and we must be willing to and able to speak his name in a diverse environment that includes people from all walks of life, all ethnic backgrounds and religious backgrounds as well, or no religious background whatsoever. We need to be flexible in learning how to share the gospel in these contexts and share our faith with and our testimony with people that are not like us and who may never darken the door of our church. At the same time, most of the evangelism that you've probably learned in your lifetime would be very scary, if not inappropriate, to try in the workplace. And so it's important for us also to retool